All right, welcome
Yes.
back to another episode of these crazy fools that just keep eating meat and can't stop talking about it. Today we brought in a new victim, a little bit of fresh. Brought our pal Cesar in. We're gonna expose him a little bit for what his carnivoreness is all about. So without getting around to too much time wasting, let's hear what he has to say. Let's hear a little bit about his journey. Let's hear a little bit of how he got started because that's an important question. How do you get started, and what to expect? And we all met on Meter X, so we'll just get that out of the way. And we all know each other a little bit at least. It's not a lot. So why don't you just take us from ground zero, Caesar? Tell us how you heard about it, why you tried it, and what you did.
All right, hey everyone. So I'm Caesar. Really my health journey started after high school when I just started. I've been overweight my whole life, but especially after high school, I just started putting weight on very quickly. I was getting close to 300 pounds, and that's when I, decided like I needed to start being healthy. Uh, so the first thing I ever tried, and I always say I'm not ashamed of it or I'm not like embarrassed of it. I'm happy because it started my journey to be healthy was actually Herbalife.
Yeah.
Heard that, yeah.
So I started with Herbalife and I lost weight, but of course I lost weight because I was just eating, shakes all day. And then once I started doing a little bit more research and looking into other health, advice, I learned that maybe soy wasn't the best thing, especially for men. So I started to really start eating whole foods, and that's when I started tracking. I ate a lot of vegetables, lean meats, lean cut meats, and I was losing weight too. And from there, I just hopped onto every other diet. The one that I got the most benefit from, and I felt probably the best was just fasting and just tracking my calories and macros. So, that was going really well. And then in 2017, I had a really bad panic attack. And that panic attack led to just some crazy anxiety symptoms that, made me think that, or I thought that I was going crazy. So everything that had to do with me eating and health was no longer, just trying to lose weight. It was just, I wanted to get my mind, my basically my brain back because I thought every day I thought I was going to die or I didn't know what was going on with me. So um, probably like halfway through, I used to listen to this. I still listen to them. It's a podcast called Mind Pump. It's a fitness podcast, and that's where I first met or first heard about Sean Baker. And I think he was probably like 10 months into carnivore. It was pretty early.
Hmm.
So I looked into that. Then I looked into Jordan Peterson and his daughter, and I saw that people were coming out of anxiety doing the carnivore. So I thought I'd give it a try. And to be honest, I didn't really see any benefits as far as my anxiety wise. I did have less. I mean, it wasn't as bad
Sorry,
as when.
I don't mean to interrupt, but about what year, month did you did you first try?
Uh, so 2017 in March was the panic attack. Probably a year later.
Okay.
Yeah, 2018 probably, if I'm right. Yeah, but it wasn't full carnivore. It was just I was eating more meat. More meat was in my diet, and it was like that for a whole year. And then I started. My anxiety was a whole lot better, but it was still there. Still struggling with it every day. So then I finally met someone who helped me out with my anxiety, and it was more of a mindset kind of thing, just allowing the symptoms and giving your body time to kind of go back to homeostasis and your nervous system. And basically that's what healed my anxiety. So as I was healing my anxiety, at the same time, I was still trying to be a little bit more strict with carnivore because I did see benefits as far as me just losing weight and my acne was clearing up. So I still wanted to continue doing that. So it was last year, 2019 in October. I said, it was always like a Monday through Friday kind of thing. I was eat meat Monday through Friday. Then Saturday and Sunday, I kind of just go out with friends, have some beers, eat bar food. So then in October, I said, all right, I'm going to go 100%. My birthday's in January. So I was like, I'm just going to be strict till then. So it was I think it was like 110 days I counted. It was just strictly, meat, nothing else. And
And that's when we met.
That's
Meet
when
RX.
that's when I joined RX, and I lost a lot of weight. I lost about 30 pounds. My energy levels were the thing that really caused me to kind of question everything because it was just up and down. Some days I had a lot of energy, and some days I didn't. And it was difficult to kind of pinpoint what was the reason because anxiety. I was still kind of struggling with a little bit of anxiety, and anxiety can make you feel all types of things. So
Now
it was
you
kind of
also had a new baby around that time, right?
no. I had my baby.
He was like
November.
one.
One,
When you met.
yeah, that's a new baby to me, but yeah.
Yeah. They still don't sleep right.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, that was around that time when I started. Yeah, because I remember his birthday. I was like, no, I can't have any cake because I'm doing carnivore.
Right, I remember you said that. Yeah.
So yeah, it was hard to kind of pinpoint. All right, what's my anxiety and what is me maybe just adjusting to not having any carbs.
Right.
Because the only symptom that I had left out of my anxiety was just a little bit of brain fog after I ate. And the guy who helped me with my anxiety told me, hey, I think it's still anxiety, just still kind of push through it, accept it, allow it. And I did, and it did get better, but it was still kind of there, especially when I ate carbs. When I ate carbs, I'd get that really strong brain fog for like 30 minutes and then it would go away. So then that's when I kind of, after that 4 month thing with carnivore, I kind of, just said, all right, maybe it's still anxiety. So there was this one time I ate In-N-Out, and I just kind of just said, whatever, I'm not going to worry about it. I ate In-N-Out, and I didn't get any brain fog. So I was like, maybe
with the bun and everything.
With the bun, yeah, fries, and I think a Coke.
Fries.
Well, In-N-Out is special, So Justin and I are frequent In-N-Out eaters. We normally get lettuce wrap, but occasionally I've had a bun there and didn't notice anything either. So
no. When I go, I get the what's it called, the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah,
that's usually when I do. But what I'm trying to say is that one time I kind of just ate whatever. Yeah, I felt like I took that stress away from me, thinking, well, I'm going to eat something and I'm going to get some brain fog. Because even when I was eating carnivore strictly, I would still get some brain fog. Mm-hmm. So that really kind of made me think like, hey, maybe this is just the anxiety and not necessarily my diet. So,
my anxiety tapered off over a long period of time. I wouldn't say it's completely gone yet. But, with this COVID-19 thing, I wound up losing my job right in the middle of trying to refinance my house. And I had some anxiety, but that kind of controversy in my life in the past would have been debilitating. Like I would have been, not sleeping and worrying about it constantly and, probably making all kinds of bad choices just because I was so worried. And now I was like, yeah, it bothered me, but like
it's manageable.
It was totally manageable, So there was moments where I was a little bit seized with the sensation of anxiety, shall we say, but it passed quickly, and I didn't dwell on it for the nearly 2 months that this went on. So
that was me at the time. So it's hard to say, was my anxiety coming on because I ate something bad, or was it because I ate something bad, then I felt like crap, and then my anxiety came because I felt like crap and I didn't want to feel like crap?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can have like echoes of inflammation in the brain or different parts, or up to 90 days, roughly, from eating something. So, some people it's within a week, 2 weeks, but yeah, it can take your stomach and everything to reset about 90 days, so that's what makes it so hard, and why like a really good reset is, if you're going to go strict carnivore, to do it for at least 3 months, if not longer. Because, again, that's the whole problem, is that none of this can really be quantified as far as how your body reacts, how long it will react, and how long it takes you to detox more or less. And so, because unless you actually are constantly testing throughout that entire time, it's really hard to say. And, how was your sleep? How was your hydration? what was your sodium intake like, the potassium, what was your fat to protein ratio. I mean, I love the eat meat, drink water approach, but there's so much fine tuning to this diet that we can talk about later. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I'm learning. So I'll finish up real quick. So this is the end of January. I kind of had that mindset of like, okay, maybe this is just, my anxiety, right? And not necessarily the diet. So I just kept going and shit. My anxiety it just got so much better and better, right? With that mindset of, just allowing it. So much that the guy who helped me hired me to be a coach in this program.
That's
now
awesome.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
But now we have Zoom calls. We have like 4 a week, and I'm in charge of one of them. And we have just basically like this, like a group, and I'm there just answering questions, which is
How
really
cool.
Yeah,
Can
that's
we
cool.
can we put the info in the show notes?
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
It's a great program.
Help people have a place to reach out to if they're experiencing anxiety.
Yeah, because I do think diet's a big part, but at the same time, and I think mindset as well. Especially
Well,
I think it
either way,
goes
to complement
hand in
up
hand.
together. Yeah.
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 Exactly. Yeah. Because even in his program, what really brought me to him was what he was not selling supplements or any type of breathing techniques. It was like, hey, this is anxiety. It's your mindset. You have to allow it. And then later on, you can start doing things to better your life. And he does have a module in his program with nutrition and exercise, but it's at the very end because with anxiety, I think it's really mindset first. And then later, once you figure out what's going on with you and, that you're not in danger, it's just anxiety, then you can start doing things. But when like me, I was trying to go diet first, like diet's going to cure my anxiety, which it did make it better, like I said, but to fully overcome it, I think you do need that mindset to go along with it. And that's what I did.
Well, let me jump in and kind of sketch out what appears to be happening to me. Because, or to me, to a lot of people, because the window, everybody wants to know, like, oh, well, by week 4, what's going to happen, or
Yeah.
So I like to first point out that in some of the studies they did on strict ketogenic athletes, I think it were cyclists, even a year out, they were seeing epigenetic changes that were taking place in these athletes. So a year from starting strict keto and being fully fat adapted, their body was still adjusting. They were when they say epigenetic changes, that means that genes are turning on, turning off, or modulating production of proteins in the body, and that is still changing a year later. And then we have to remember that things like depression and anxiety aren't all chemistry. They're not all about hormones. There's wiring in the brain that's associated with it, right? So this is how we learn. We like to think about like our brain's like a computer and we load software in it, but really what our brain does is it rewires in order to learn. And even rats, like when they teach rats to go through a maze, they listen to the rat's brain, and when the rat's sleeping, it's running through that pattern of the maze at a rapid speed, right? And what that's doing is teaching the neurons to fire and strengthening connections in certain order in order to make that rat better at completing the maze. So when your body is, let's say, coming down from a high state of anxiety for years on end, I think it makes sense that it doesn't necessarily just switch overnight, right? That the wiring that goes on, because anxiety and depression and fear and all that, those are all survival mechanisms, our emotions are really just an alarm system that's kind of archaic now. It's like we live in fear of something that kept us alive for millions of years, because it's kind of out of place in a lot of ways in modern times. So between the genetics and the rewiring of the brain, then I like to point out that your gut biome is changing, right? So as you slow down your consumption of carbohydrates, you have intestinal flora that's dying off, and it's screaming, "Hey, send some carbs down. We're starving down here. What's going on?" And on top of that, in the human body, there's cells like in the lining of your digestive tract that only live for a day about, and then there's other ones that live for years. And so those cells are being replaced. And as your food intake and your behavior and your lifestyle change, those cells are going to be replaced by cells that are modified according to your environment, right, and your activity. So it's no surprise that things aren't just instantaneous, you know, that all these systems in the body kind of have their own clock, and it's kind of dependent on where you're coming from and how long you've been there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it did. I mean, my symptoms are close to none as far as anxiety, but yeah, like you said, it does take time. It's not an overnight thing. And I think that's as well as with the carnivore. I only did it for 3 months, so I feel like maybe I should have done it, you know, a lot longer to see some real benefits, because I didn't get that, you know, again, my energy levels were all over the place. So in March, when I said, hey, now that my anxiety is really, really on point, like close to zero symptoms, let me give carnivore another try.
Wait, before that, what really made you get off the carnivore? Was there a certain instant in your life that said, okay, this is going to be too difficult for me to keep on carnivore? What was the reason you actually got off of it?
So to say I got off it completely, I didn't. It was more of like, again, back to that Monday, Friday thing.
Okay, got it.
Like it was definitely meat based. I was eating a lot of meat during the week, even on the weekends, but I just would have the beer and, you know, just bar food, I guess, on the weekend.
And I think that bar food's worse than the beer for you, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Now was it that the social struggle then, or
yeah,
like
definitely social, the social struggle, and then also just drinking. I lose that discipline to stay on carnivore, and then also the next day when I'm hungover, you know, to not I feel like I just want to. And there's more to it, you know. I mean, I grew up eating fast food every day. I definitely, every day. I mean, I was telling Emily my weakness is fried chicken, and we eat fried chicken at least 3 times a week. So I know there's something going on, at least with my gut, that I've damaged, and then also just the relationship I have with food. I'm still working on that.
So you and the Colonel are close friends, huh?
Yeah.
No, it's all about Popeyes, man. Come on. I can give up KFC, but giving up Popeyes, that's the real struggle.
Yeah, actually, those were kind of expensive for us. We ate a lot of
churches, right.
Nice.
Churches.
Holy cow.
There you go.
Now, there used to be a hole-in-the-wall Popeyes not far from where I went to school. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. That's part of a major chain of restaurants now, because this place was a hole in the wall. And they would give you pieces of white bread, like right out of a Wonder Bread wrapper when you got your chicken.
It got really bad. And right when I graduated, I worked at a fast food joint.
Oh, wow.
Fried chicken joint. So
free food.
I was eating it every day. Yeah.
I was going to say, you must have been eating it every day. Yeah.
And it's still a struggle. Like, I still crave it, and I still, you know, want it. So
how old are you, Cesar?
25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great.
So what has your experience been like here recently? You have shared with us a little bit about your story that you've been getting more back on the wagon or whatever with eating more.
So when I tried it back in March, I was going to hop back on it. That's when, you know, quarantine hit, and, you know, whatever.
All bets are off with that.
Right.
Kind of just slowly, I was still getting a little meat-based. I ate a lot of meat, but I was still having all those, you know, really bad weekends, and just little by little, overnight, I told Emily, we went out to Seattle a couple weeks ago, and I took some clothes with me, and it didn't fit anymore. And I was like, I just got this clothes in January. And I was just so disappointed in myself. And what really, if we go back to the beginning real quick, what really caused me to just want to be healthy is that my dad's diabetic, high blood pressure. My grandpa's diabetic, high blood pressure. And I was quickly, right after high school, following their tracks to be a diabetic. So, so now, like, I want to do carnivore again, not necessarily to look good and you know, like I told Emily, I want to have a 6-pack like Raymond, but really it's just to be healthy.
We all do. Yeah.
We all want to be Raymond in a certain special way.
I really just want to be healthy and
Yeah.
be able to provide for my son, not just financially, but especially in my anxiety days when I felt like crap, I wasn't present. And even when I drink and I eat really bad, I'm not present because I'm hungover, or I'm just so bloated and I don't feel like doing anything. So now that's my mindset going forward is, I told Emily this, I'm healing. Like when I eat, I'm healing. I'm not just trying to look good, or I'm healing essentially. And
But what about the social life on the weekends?
So that's going to be a struggle because even last night we had a poker night at my house here, and I drank whiskey and it was fine, but it was tough to. Even today is tough, like just being hungover.
And I think it's hard to think, okay, well, whiskey is better than beer, but it really is. I mean, it really makes a huge difference on the effects. I do know that it's important to still be able to socialize and still be able to feel like a human, but I just have one bourbon on the rocks instead of 3 beers, and so that regulating is a little bit harder.
And I drink whiskey and I'm fine with it. I like it. But I guess that the discipline goes out the window when I've had a couple of drinks.
I understand.
That's true. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah. That does get easier with time. So
it does.
I think it was it back in January? I don't know if you know who Temple Grandin is, but she's a famous autistic person. I mean, very famous. They made a movie about her, and I got an interview with her for my channel. And at that same time, the night before, I went to a business meeting, which they moved to a pub or a microbrewery, and I had not had a beer in a long time.
Yeah.
And, I had 2, maybe 3 beers there, and no big deal. And then I woke up the next morning, my eyes were all puffy. I mean, like bad. I was like, oh my God, what happened? And I'm like, I got this interview early in the morning with this famous person, But as it turned out, I had to borrow an Apple computer because this person only knows how to use FaceTime. And I appear as this little tiny person in the corner, fortunately, so you can't see how puffy my eyes are. But yeah, I'll admit too, if I'm gonna drink something, I'm gonna drink whiskey. I'm not, whiskey with water. I know Miss on the Rocks over there probably drinking at their table, but yeah, I can have whiskey and water and it doesn't, I don't have any allergic reaction, and if anything, it pushes my blood sugar down. I did an experiment with that one time, and it's true. When you're low carb, especially if you drink alcohol, it tends to lower your blood sugar, assuming you're not drinking any sugar. Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. And I don't believe alcohol is a health food. But
right.
Obviously,
not promoting it, right?
Yeah, obviously people are going to drink out there, and everybody's as well. Is it carnivore? No, of course it's not carnivore, but people want to drink. I mean, I know a lot of people smoke weed. It's not carnivore either, but people are going to smoke it anyways, right? Yeah. So,
well, and it's still that social aspect of still feeling like you're human, and especially 25. Can you guys imagine not drinking when you're 25?
Come on, the social aspect of 25 is huge. So I really feel for you on that. I really do get it. So
I mean, I get it.
Yeah, that's a tough sacrifice to even ask, especially since all you've got is just the weight. I mean, and maybe anxiety.
Yeah, and that's something
not enough.
Yeah, like I was telling Emily, like it's tough because it really comes down to like nothing is other than gain some weight. That's my biggest,
right.
I get the consequence of eating bad, and that's what kind of created that bad habit after January was like, hey, if I have a couple bad meals, that's fine. I'll just jump back on the diet of the carnivore. But now moving forward, my mindset's not like it's not a diet. It really is, again, for my health and not just to lose weight.
Yeah.
And the thing with my anxiety, real quick, I knew how to recover, but I just wasn't consistent with it. And I think it's the same thing with this. I'm not consistent with it. I wasn't consistent with it. I wanted the quick fix overnight thing, and I wasn't being patient. So
See, I think you're hitting something on the head here, the mindset part. You know, it's kind of like what you learned about how mindset was very important for your anxiety. It is also for the carnivore also. And I like how you seem to be equating that. So in a way, if you can get the correct mindset, you can actually do this very easily, or it will make it easier for you. Now, obviously the cravings at first and the craving for socialness is going to be huge at first. But like Tom said, all of it gets a lot easier later on. So yeah, you have to try pretty hard for the first, you know, until you adapt. But after that, it's just, you know, much more manageable. Mm-hmm. And then after that is like such a breeze. It's like breathing for a while.
Every 2 drinks, cook yourself another steak, you know?
There you go, something like that.
Do like a reverse drinking game.
Reverse
an eating
right?
game.
Yeah.
You can't eat any more steak. You can't drink any more booze.
That's it. I love it. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But like for real, I've been known to like the devil's lettuce. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And my thing is like I'll have the devil's lettuce and I'll go cook a steak and eat a whole steak. Or like if I want more, like I'll just have some pemmican with some steak. You know what I mean? Like whereas before, so like before going carnivore or keto or anything, my big thing was smoking a fatty and doing a whole bag of Annie's popcorn. Like that was like my thing. And because it was gluten free, so that was my snack. Like every night I was having like practically a bag of the Annie's popcorn, you know. And then it went from that, and then I started dabbling in carnivore and stuff, to almonds, a bag of sprouted almonds, organic. It was like for $15 a bag or whatever, like ridiculous price for almonds. And then one night, like, you know, I was having the devil's lettuce and I ate the entire bag of almonds in one night. And then like my stomach the next day like hurt so bad. And then like, so like what I've had to do with myself is push it until it hurts and then learn my lesson that way, because I'm an idiot. So like I really have to do stuff till I'm in pain. Like I really do. It's really stupid, but that's my modus operandi. And I've done that with soy sauce. Like I did soy sauce. I had the sashimi with soy sauce, and with too much soy sauce. And then the next day, like I had a bad headache and the runs. You know what I mean? And then I did the same thing with mustard. Like I had some burger patties.
I remember that.
You remember the mustard incident?
I remember the soy sauce. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, how much mustard could you have?
I know. That's what I was kept on thinking. I'm like, how is that possible?
Were you having mustard cocktails or what?
He had like half a cup of mustard or something.
Mustard, yeah.
I don't know why I went to town on I had a stupid amount of organic mustard. Yeah. So I'll do that. I really will. So, I mean, don't feel bad. But that's kind of always been me. And then like, that's why I like my 95% compliance.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Because what really messed me up as well was if I have the mindset of like, if it's not perfect, then, you know, why do it? So every time I did mess up, I mean, I would.
So it's not about perfection.
No.
It's like Justin says, it's about a lesson. You do it mentally aware that you're doing it, and you actually accept the whatever comes afterwards. You know, like you say, you get hungover the next day, you just feel like shit. Accept it. Just it's or like Justin, you know how he felt, and I'm the same way. I mean, one carb, for example, I went to barbecue and I got a full rack of ribs, but you know they have the sauce, you know, already spit on it and all that, which I know. So that's dirty carnivore, right? Tore into it, ate almost the whole rack, and today I'm paying the price. I've got zits. Immediately right after I got home, I had to crash because I couldn't even stay awake. Today I'm not feeling so good. I'm feeling a little bit down. And this is just for not having my normal ribeye and salt.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I met Justin at Lucille's for his birthday with some of his pals, and I saw beef ribs on the menu. I was like, oh, I gotta have the beef ribs. I love beef ribs. I grew up eating beef ribs, and they're few and far between here. So I ordered them, and then I was sitting there. We had to sit outside in the parking lot. It was over 100 degrees, and the mountain right up on the other side of the freeway was on fire. So it's like raining ash and smoky, sitting next to a freeway on
Happy
asphalt.
freaking birthday.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, my
And-
birthday's mid-August. There's always a fire. It's always super hot. It's always nasty. Which is why I usually try to travel to go up north or somewhere, Seattle, Northern California for my birthday. Usually, because it's always hell in Southern California.
I ordered those ribs and then went, damn, I forgot to tell them not to put the sauce on it. And then I was like, screw it. I'm just going to eat them with the sauce, right?
I enjoy it, right?
And
Awesome.
they had so much sauce on them, like I didn't want to put them down because my hands were so messed up. I knew there was no way I was going to get my hands clean. So I was like, I might as well just plow through them because I'm going to have to like go hose myself down and to get clean once I start. I gave one rib to Justin, but I ate all the rest of them. They were fantastic. And let's just say there were some ramifications later that evening.
Ooh.
That sauce. Yeah. So
Yikes. See,
I
that's why I
enjoy-
don't mess up. I don't like to hurt.
Right.
I don't like it.
Right.
It sucks.
And social pressures will get you there. I obviously went with my family.
Screw
So that was
people. I don't
great.
care
Yeah.
about people.
I know, no. Well, you don't. Yeah, your repercussions are a lot worse than mine. But you know, I can afford not feeling good for the next 5 days. But for you, it's totally.
5 days. Not bad.
Yeah. Well, no, I just don't feel my 100% self, so I don't work out as good. I don't. So it's not like I feel like I did yesterday right afterwards. You know, it starts getting a little bit better, but I don't get to 100% until, and you know, the acne don't go away until about that, right about. So, but that's what I'm saying. It's a lesson, and ingrain it to your mind to the point where you're like, right when you see the alcohol, you think of those times. The negative times, and then eventually you'll start having less and less of it, or you even dread going to do this. So it's kind of a nice reinforcement, I think.
And I think I'm starting to see that too, because even sometimes the taste of alcohol while I'm drinking is just like, man, I know I'm not gonna feel good tomorrow. How is this worth it? You know?
Right. When you start questioning, is it worth it? When you're looking at it before you do it, yeah, you know there's something. Yeah.
But then again, my friends are there, we're drinking, so
yeah, no,
but the pressure's still there. But I see it getting better. Even with like the fried chicken, sometimes I'll eat it, and it's like, man, while I'm eating it, the same thought: is it worth it? Because you know you're not gonna feel good after. Sometimes it was to the point where I was just sabotaging myself. Like I wasn't even hungry or didn't even want it, but I was still eating it. But that's getting better, and I see that. And I think it's just it just gets to the point where, you know, you just keep doing it to yourself to the point like it has to stop, right? So, and I see it getting better.
It will.
And I just want to say that people are getting really creative with carnivore. Like I didn't have ice cream until Tom made carnivore ice cream with bacon. You know, and I know those that are dairy intolerant. You know, I get it. Boo for you. But we'll get there, you know. But like I saw a recipe for a crusted chicken that was made with, I think it was like pork rinds.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of things isn't saying goodbye forever. It's just saying goodbye until A, someone comes up with a way to make it carnivore, or B, you're willing to do some experimentation and just make it at home rather than buying it, which saves you money anyway. I myself get the occasional chicken craving. They do come on, and not necessarily fried chicken, but there's a health food store on the way from work where I can get an organic herb roasted chicken. You know what I mean? It's like $10, but like it's pretty good. And then like I'll just tear that apart over like a day and a half.
Yeah.
You know, until it's like a carcass. And then if you want to be really cool, you can take the carcass and turn it into a bone broth. You know. and then
Yeah.
you know, further extract from it. So yeah, I mean, it's just about challenging creativity, and like the limit to carnivore I'm learning is just the limit of your creativity. Because I've seen people make some crazy things and I'm like, what? Carnivore? Like tamales. That was like, you know, we're both Latin, Mexican,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Christmas time, those tamales, right? Right? Like that's gonna be a challenge.
Yeah.
And there is on MeatRx a tamale recipe, you know, so like I grabbed that, like it's made with chicken as like the crusting and stuff like that. And but yeah, so I mean, people are really coming up with really cool things. So I guess like the major point is just, it's not about saying goodbye forever, just goodbye for this moment, or making it later, or preparing, you know, preparedness, you know, whether you're going out to a restaurant with friends or at home, meal prepping, like always have more meat in the fridge than you can eat. You know what I mean? Like there were times where I'd have 7, especially in the beginning, where I'd have like 7, 8 Tupperwares in the fridge of hamburger patties, New York strip, ribeye, pork ribs. You know what I mean? Just because in the beginning, I didn't want to have an excuse to go off diet. Like, oh, I don't have that. Oh, I'm too lazy to cook, whatever, you know? So it's all about the set, you know, and then you're able to just, for me anyway, that was my strategy, was just setting myself up for success instead of setting myself up for failure.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Yeah, well, and we miss those things less. You know, I know everybody's horrified when you say you don't eat bread. You know, they're like, oh, I could never give up bread. You know, it's like one of the
I don't even care.
say.
Right,
And
right.
Justin was over here last weekend, and he made chaffles. I challenged him to make some chaffles. So and all we had was a pizzelle iron, which is like a waffle cookie thing. So, but we tried it, and we made them, and then neither one of us were interested in eating them. So yeah.
Well, we had Australian cheese going on. You had the Braunschweiger or whatever it's called going on. So I mean, come on, like let's at least be fair to the chaffle people that love
We
their
had eaten
chaffles.
ribeyes and lobster, so chaffles are kind of anticlimactic at that point. So yeah, but yeah, we made them, and I could see they could be, you know, you know, another food you could throw in. But as far as transgressions go, we were all kind of celebrating because Justin's thesis got accepted, so he's finally officially got his master's. I got a new job. My girlfriend got a new job. So naturally, when you're having lobster and ribeye and making chaffles, in my mind, it's time to pull a cork and open a bottle of wine. But I know I probably shouldn't have had the chaffle because it's got whole egg in it, and I know that the egg whites can cause my psoriasis to flare up. And the wine is highly suspicious as well. So by Monday morning, I had some of my psoriatic lesions were flaring up, and it was probably both those items that did it, you know. So, but it was relatively minor, and I knew it's like I'm not gonna. This probably won't happen again. If it does, it'll probably be a year from now or something. So, but you know, I don't really have a burning desire to do it again. So, you know, I think they just over time those things they kind of attenuate. You know, they just happen less and less frequently. You're less and less interested. Even if you do get the bright idea that opening a bottle of wine to celebrate has to go with ribeye and lobster. You know, like next time probably probably not.
Yeah.
And you, oh, go ahead, Em.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna, and you kind of learn how to like balance things out. Like me and Tom, thanks to another friend of ours, really caught on to studying histamines and histamine reaction. So now, well, I take the ancestral supplement, shameless plug, kidney supplement daily, you know, and that I saw my headaches really improve, you know, and so there are other carnivore, like I think we're moving in a direction of carnivore apothecary, you know, or like when you're feeling sick, when you go off, you know what organ to eat or to increase your fat or eat more meat or adjust protein or whatever to heal yourself from the transgression. So using carnivore is not just like a constant thing that keeps your body in low inflammation, but also using carnivore as true herbal medicine. And I believe that's the next era and the next step of carnivore. You know, me and Tom have a few things in the mix that are ideas that we're not ready to say to the public yet because patent pending.
And when he says herbal medicine, he means herbal medicine without any actual herbs.
Right. Yes. I don't have there's no word for it yet, you know, but I think carnivore apothecary, I think I'm going to have to coin that one.
Well, and I'll tell you, I've been guilty of one thing. I was so focused on diet, particularly when I was having psoriasis flare-ups, and I'm thinking, oh, it's something in my diet, something in my diet. I've eliminated everything. What could be causing these eruptions momentarily? And I think it was histamines, and it had nothing to do with food. So I had gotten so focused on diet, I'd forgotten that there's other things in our friend Karina. It was hyper focused on histamines because she was very sensitive to them. And to some regard, it was tied to food because I was eating ground beef. And this is when meat was hard to get during the COVID lockdown, you know. So you go in, you can only buy a little bit of meat or one package of meat. And I was like, well, give me that 10-pound torpedo of ground beef, you know, I'll live on that for a while. But it's notoriously high in histamines, you know, and I think that was causing a problem. And then somewhere in there, I was starting eating whole eggs again and stuff like that. So dialing it back and, you know, and realizing that, well, histamine is just as likely as, you know, some other food ingredient like a protein or something to cause the eruption would have been something that probably would have helped me a long time ago and probably would have saved me a lot of frustration. So, yeah, you know, as powerful as carnivore is, or, you know, some of the other things, the other tools people might use like fasting or whatever, sometimes we have to take a step back and realize there's other things in our environment. And I would probably say sleep is probably the most important thing that gets overlooked. You know I've had a lifelong battle with sleep, not getting enough, and I'm just getting it tuned, and it's taken me like 2 years of solid work to really improve my sleep. So, you know, as much as I love talking about the wonders of eating meat all the time, we gotta look at other things sometimes too.
Other things, yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to double back to, you know, so I'm not a licensed therapist, but I'm in training. You know, I'm an intern, and I have clients and like it's like no matter how many techniques, meditations, or whatever I give them, nothing's gonna work if they're constantly inflamed. Like I'd been through so many sessions of therapy and still struggled with anxiety, depression, major depressive disorder, you know, with psychotic features. And so like carnivore, now I can sit and meditate. Now I can focus. Now I can do the deep breathing in the moment because my body's not constantly in this like, you know, flared up state, you know? And so I feel that, yeah, carnivore, doesn't take it away 100%. I agree. But carnivore makes using the tools to get to where you want to be so much easier. And I think Emily can speak on that as well.
Oh, absolutely. You know, and I really think that just clearing out that noise so that you can get to the answer, because sometimes we can't get to the answer because there's so much noise, you know, going on when we're eating, you know, well, I was eating batches of raw cookie dough, you know, and I was like, I don't feel good.
She kept the jar of peanut butter next to her bed.
Yep. And yeah, because I would have to get up at 2:00 in the morning to go pee, you know, because there was always so much bloating and so much pressure in my stomach that I had to pee all the time. And, you know, so I would get up and then I would be 2:00 in the morning and I'm hungry. And so I would be like, oh, I need to eat some peanut butter. And so I'd eat, you know, 2 or 3 big old spoonfuls of peanut butter.
Wait, after dinner, you would get hungry at 2 a.m. and eat?
I ate all the time. I had to eat every 2 hours.
Whoa.
Every 2 hours, you couldn't sleep straight.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If I woke up to go pee at 2 o'clock in the morning, I couldn't go back to sleep. I had to eat
You
peanut
had to
butter.
eat. Wow.
Was that
or
because
something.
of the medication, or was that
It's
like
possible.
you? That's how.
It's possible. I was on 900 milligrams of lithium, so there's all bets are off. Who knows? But what I love about Cesar's story is that you knew enough about your experience with carnivore to come back.
Yeah.
You know, that you knew
Yeah.
that there was something here. There's something here with eating more meat. So I thank you so much for just letting us be a part of this journey with you. I'm so excited about the work that you're doing with anxiety as well, because like Justin said, you know, once you get that inflammation cleared out, you can really use these tools, you know? So that's really awesome.
That is great. It's great that you came on and shared your story, and
Yeah, appreciate
you're
that.
involved, you know. Yeah.
No, man. Thanks for having me. I've always been one to kind of just go against the grain and see, you know, that I always feel like there's answers. You just have to go find them, and that's what I've been doing these past couple of years, is trying to find the answer to have better health. And now I never thought about, you know, mental health, and now that's a big priority in my life too, is just trying to be as sharp as I can.
You're young. I mean, to find this out at your age is
A gift.
excellent. A gift.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
You're so blessed. Yeah.
Yes.
And take that and run with it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, if there was any advice. There's a person that's new to this, dabbling, thinking about carnivore. Like, what would you want to tell them, or maybe tell yourself a year ago? I don't know. However you want to. That helps you easy to think about it.
I don't know. What I try to tell my parents, again, because my dad's still diabetic. My mom, she's not diabetic, but she's definitely overweight, and it's not good. So I mean, I would just say try it out. I mean, that's what I tell them all the time. It's not gonna hurt. If anything, you're only gonna see benefits from it. But you got to try it. You got to do it. That's the best advice I could give them, other than setting a good example.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, I'm always complaining because I felt like I didn't really have much of an impact on the people right around me. And then Justin comes over and my girlfriend's like, you know what? Next month I'm going carnivore. I'm going to give it a try. She tells him while we're standing there. She hadn't said boo to me about it. So maybe it wasn't me. Maybe it was Justin. But I finally
She saw me doing my lifts, my pull-ups on your pull-up bar. Right. She saw me getting shredded.
Yeah, Justin's my trainer, so he comes over. He's showing me how to work out.
I work with my dad, so I try to get him to eat healthy, right? And he saw I was doing carnivore, and he didn't really bat an eye. But once he saw Joe Rogan do it, he's like, hey, you know, Joe Rogan's doing the carnivore diet? I've been telling you for like a year now to try it out. But his thing too, I guess, it really is just the habits you create, because he did it for he was doing kind of like a keto for 2 weeks, and he was tracking his
glucose,
his glucose, and everything was getting so much better. He was feeling great, and I don't know, just kind of, he's a big drinker too, so it kind of just fell off, and yeah, that's where we're at.
So if you fall off, you can get back on.
That's right. It's okay to fall off. That's part of human nature. Just get back on.
Absolutely.
You don't lose until you stay down.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I'm this time around again. I have the better mindset, and now I have you guys to.
You absolutely have us.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome back anytime. I'm sure any one of us would be happy to talk to you whenever you want to talk about whatever.
Yeah. I mean, the only question if we have time, the only question I do have is, I mean, I used to track a lot, and that's something I said I never wanted to do again, because it was very stressful to track everything that I ate. But when it comes to carnivore, I never track. But what would be the best advice when it comes to tracking, I guess, your fat to protein intake?
What I tell people to do is just get a certain cut of meat and just kind of try and buy ones that look similar and eat that consistently for a while and see how you feel. And if you don't feel like you have enough energy or whatever, you want a little more fat. Don't be afraid to go get some. Ask the meat cutters to save you some trimmings. And
I mean, I buy fat. I buy
yeah.
you know, the tallow, and I'll cut it up some pieces when I'm having leaner meats like a strip. And the reason why I ask is because when I was eating some carbs, my lips were a whole lot better than when I'm just strict carnivore.
Your what is a whole lot better? Sorry.
My lips, my workouts.
You might want to try supplementing with a little salt water before you lift.
Mm-hmm.
And then for me, I like lifting too. So for me, I do supplement some fat. I usually just get some pork sausage that's real fatty. If I'm eating New York strips or something like that, or bacon or whatever, or just the fat trimmings from the butcher shop, you know. So, or I make pemmican too, so which is kind of like, it's mostly fat with like dried meat in it. So, I don't really have a problem with running out of energy or whatever. And I think of it more as like strength development. And I probably lift less frequently and fewer reps now, and I lift a lot more than I used to. I mean, I took like 10 years off the gym because of the arthritis. And so I'm lifting more at 49 than I did at 39 or 29, clearly, you know. So when I was all of a sudden, you know, my peaks, you know, which I don't do that often, I was squatting 500 pounds like I've been doing it my whole life. All of a sudden I was like, what the hell happened? I used to have a really bad back. I used to have terrible sciatica. I had a torn shoulder. My neck would go out when I did squats. Like I couldn't turn my head the next day. I was dragging my left foot behind me. I could barely walk on it and stuff like that. And now I'm pain free. I think my deadlift is somewhere around its peak is probably about 470 something, 470 and change or something like that. And I was getting better every month up until they shut the gym down. So I think you just I was probably already carnivore for well over a year before I went back to the gym. So my body had really adjusted, and I was really kind of figuring out what I was happy eating. And the only thing I really had to do was adjust my electrolytes, because it's hot here. Well, it's probably hot where you live too.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I drink the snake juice. You know, I mix up the sodium, potassium, and all that stuff in the water, and drink plenty of that. But I could definitely lift more when I dosed up with a little sodium beforehand. So.
Okay.
Another thing, I mean, alcohol will definitely put a damper on gym performance, on athletic performance. So, yeah, I don't know how clean you've been with the gym and, you know, no alcohol or anything like that. I don't know where you're at with that. But, yeah, I mean, so I was exercise intolerant until until like month 7. Well, because of, yeah.
Because I still am. I still don't work out.
You're still exercise intolerant.
I'm still exercise intolerant.
You're just lazy. When we come to Missouri, we're getting you a gym membership, and we're gonna
she's got some muscles on her now.
Yeah.
Chase her around, make her work out.
Right.
But yeah, so I didn't start working out till month 7 of carnivore. And I had been like essentially exercise intolerant because of migraines and other stuff for like 10 years before then, roughly. And I was doing great in the gym. I could go in there for 2-3 hours, you know. So I don't know. And I've heard similar things. A lot of people not, you know, having poor gym performance, but it just not being that great until at least 6 months in, 7 months into carnivore, for a variety of reasons. I don't know if Raymond, you can talk one way or the other.
Say that again, about what?
The
don't
gym, like the people you coach,
yeah.
like if you've noticed their performance dip and then it gets
Yeah,
better,
yeah.
like later out, like it's something
Yeah.
that seems to hit like month 6 and 7, at least the people I talk to.
Yeah,
But
you
I
start
don't.
hitting PRs. That's what I've noticed around a little later on. Early on, it's really up and down. Some days you're just like super awesome, and some days you're just like, wonder
And I
why.
think you're still healing in the beginning.
Yeah, you are. That's the thing. So don't really pay attention to that much. But if you're going to track anything, there is one thing I would recommend.
Yeah.
Get yourself, a Google Calendar, for example, and track when you work out, track when you go off the diet a little bit. Any of those, what you're looking for is patterns.
Mm-hmm.
You try to understand your own patterns. Once you get that, you can work with it even better later on in the future. So it's like, get a base pattern. This is what I do. Okay, I tend to do 5 days a week, 2 days here. Oh, some days I'll skip here, skip that, and then I'm pretty strict most of the week. Once you find out that pattern, you can start honing in on the weak spots. And that helps a lot. So if you want to track, that's probably the only thing I would recommend tracking.
Well,
rest food, unless you really want to,
I don't know if it applies to you, but I track sleep because that's been my battle. And if you don't get enough sleep, you're not going to lift well, for sure. And then if you're drinking or smoking weed, you're the kind of sleep you get in the beginning while that's still in your system doesn't, it affects your brain. Your brain doesn't go through all the processes it's supposed to while that's still in your system. So the sleep you get in the first 4 or 5, sometimes 6 hours of sleep with those substances and other narcotics in your system just isn't that great. So, and then you might want a lot of people put this focus on, one meal a day or whatever, but I can assure you that if I eat one meal a day, I'm not going to get as strong as if I'm eating 3 or 4, maybe 5 times a day. So you want to have a dose of protein, and you want to eat foods that are rich in leucine if you want to be strong. So like red meat, if you're going to eat a cheese, eat something like Parmesan that's rich in leucine. Get that dose of leucine, and if you really don't want to put muscle on, eat a little bit of steak before you go to bed. Because when you're going to build most of your muscle when you're asleep and you're immobilized, right? When you're asleep and you're immobilized, there's 2 things that's going on. Your brain is in a psychotic state, and you're building muscle. So all that weird stuff that happens when you're sleeping, like when you go to sleep and you're dreaming, things aren't really like they are in the real world. You're disassociated. You're having psychotic thoughts. You're losing track of time and space. And then when you wake up, you forget most of it. And that's amnesia. Like these are all the stages of serious psychiatric diseases that you go through while you're sleeping. And if you don't go through them while you're sleeping, your body doesn't function right for some reason. So, and if you don't have enough leucine, you're not likely to trigger enough of the muscle development, as well as having all that protein, all those other amino acids to rebuild the muscle while you're immobilized.
Interesting.
And the best gym performance day I ever had was the day that I ate a raw steak before hitting the gym.
We all hesitate to tell people to eat raw meat because it is risky behavior to some extent, but we all enjoy it to a large extent. Yeah. And sometimes we sleep better when we do it. Sometimes we feel kind of euphoric or energized when we do it. But yeah, it's hard to say. And I've had off days at the gym where I just couldn't figure out what it was, but I'm sure it's some combination of hydration and sleep and not eating enough at the right time. I definitely, if you want to get stronger, you need to be in an anabolic state. And if you're just eating one meal a day, you're not in an anabolic state very much, right? If you're fasting, you're not in an anabolic state very much. You can get a rise in growth hormone, but that doesn't mean everything else is in line for growing muscle. It takes more than just human growth hormone to grow muscle.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Hopefully I don't come off as an alcoholic.
No, you're 25.
I just noticed that it's enough for me it's getting in the way of my goals, so I should really consider cutting back. Yeah.
No, that's life. A lot of these things that we really enjoy, we gotta learn to enjoy them in moderation, or we have to give them up because they screw up our lives, right?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it.
Alcohol will cause anxiety. Too much weed will cause anxiety.
Yeah.
So
That's actually my first panic. That first panic attack was after a really bad hangover.
That'll do it.
oh,
I remember my depression would kick in like hardcore. Like I'd be like, I'm good, and go out drinking. And then the next day I was like, I want to die.
Yeah.
Like it was horrible. Like, and yeah, I wanted to die because I felt bad, but emotionally my depression plummeted. I mean, my mood was just horrible.
hey, when I got diagnosed with anxiety, the first thing to do is start putting me on medication, right? And I already knew people that were taking benzodiazepines like Ativan and Xanax and stuff like that were afraid to stop. They were taking them twice a day and they were afraid to stop. And when they stopped, they had horrible symptoms. And I would tell people, it's like, well, alcohol, it's kind of magical because it alleviates anxiety really well. And if you just have a little bit, there's not that much consequence. If you keep drinking, then you have terrible anxiety the next day, right? It's like you're borrowing happiness overnight with really high interest. And the next day you got to pay it back.
Yeah.
So, I think now with Dr. Peterson talking about his issue with kicking the benzos, how horrible it was getting off those drugs, people are starting to understand why alcohol is such an appealing replacement for those things. Because one here, like they dole them out like they're nuclear weapons or something. It's like, well, I'm going to give you a few of them. As Justin talks about banking his migraine medications, because sometimes you had to double up because the first dose didn't work, or sometimes you just have a really bad week and they'll only give you so many in a month. Well, you can always have some whiskey or something, and as long as it's moderate, it'll take the edge off that anxiety and you're cool. But if you drink too much, you're just going to have horrible anxiety the next day or a couple days later or whatever it is. So a lot of people have been there. I won't say we've all been there, but a lot of people have been there. And that's what it is. You got to be careful because that anxiety is coming from more than one place, let's say. I mean, diet plays a role, but there's things in your life that trigger anxiety legitimately. And then when it gets out of control and amplified, or your brain becomes wired to overreact to it, and you just get triggered easy.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get off that roller coaster.
No, I mean, it was definitely a journey, but I'm really like, it's crazy, but I'm happy that I went through it because my mind is so much stronger. Like my ability to handle stress now compared to 3 years ago is definitely different.
We call that carnivore durable.
Yeah.
We call a few other things carnivore durable as well, but stress tolerance. Yes, our stress tolerance definitely increases, both physically and mentally.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited. I know this time around it's gonna be different.
Awesome.
You can do it. You can absolutely do it.
Well, I think being open is really important. I'm really glad that you reached out to us, and I'm glad that you're, willing to be held accountable to us, just to talk about it, and I think the best is yet to come.
All right.
And all of us do that for people. Cesar, he is special, but not that special. Anyone that watches us, I mean, we all have our own Instagrams and stuff like that. We're all very reachable, and like we just really want to help people.
Yeah.
So if anyone out there watching, be like, oh man, how could I be in Caesar Square or whatever? Like it's really not hard. We're all really accessible. Whether through MeetRx or not, or Instagram, Facebook. I mean, we drop it all every week in the bottom. But yeah, I just want to throw it out
or
there.
even Center Brilliance. I love whenever people post what they're eating. Just anywhere on social media.
Just people just check the show notes. You can find all kinds of ways to engage with us or other people in the carnivore arena. So low carb arena. None of us are like, really super strict carnivore to the degree where we don't talk to other people in the low carb arena as
not at all
the time, So
Good.
anyways, do we wrap it up here, kids?
Yeah,
Nice
but
chat.
shameless plug number 2, Raymond, I'm coming for you. Just saying.
Iron Gym.
Yeah.
That a pull-up set for the
Yeah.
pull up?
Yeah.
All right.
Coming
Well,
for ya.
I can't do a pull-ups worth anything, so yeah.
I
Me
think I
either.
won.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there you go. That's what I'm talking about.
That'll be the next video. We'll do a pull-up challenge.
Pull-up challenge.
Little
Yeah.
challenge. There we go.
I could tell you, Justin doesn't even have a pull-up bar installed yet. He's better at it than I am.
That's right. Tom's got that real fancy one that he built himself.
That's awesome.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. It's good seeing
Thanks.
everybody. It's good having the band back together. I wish Joe was here, but it didn't work out. So we'll get another video in with him elsewhere. But I want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Make sure you're staying subscribed.
Like,
Me
subscribe.
and other people you like on
Hey.
YouTube.
Yes. Right on time.
And
And don't fall
Don't
down
fall down the carb hole.